believing in what we're doing here at You Going Pro podcast. I want to say truly, I really appreciate you. Today's episode 128, brought to you by YGP Publisher, home of my new book, the very book, Are You Really D1? And that is the manuscript, the blueprint to help athletes, JUCO players, and high schoolers know what college coaches are looking for. So if you're really serious about this, reach out to me at RUD1. That's www.rureallyd1.com. Again, that website is www.rud1.com. Today's is a very special guest. He is a former minor league coach, also a CEO, a founder of Athlete Lab. Gotta say it right. Athlete Lab. I want to say athletic. Athlete Lab. Collins has worked with inside professional baseball players, helping players improve their mechanics, mindset, overall development. Now, through Athlete Lab, he helps athletes train smarter. That's the key word: train smarter, move better, build their game around the right way so they can compete at the highest level. And also at Athlete Lab, he also has some inside secrets to get into professional sports as a hiree. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you again, Collins, for coming on. How are you doing, Collins?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me, Coach. Man, this is awesome.
Yeah, but I hope I did enough for your bio. I kind of did some bullet poops out there, so I hope
No,
that
I
did
love
good.
it. I love it.
So with that being said, Collins, I know that you have the business Athlete Lab, but before there was Athlete Lab, tell a little bit about your history and your story. What was the birth or the genesis of Athlete Lab as you as a young boy, young man?
Yeah, I wish it was a happier birth, but it was definitely one that was necessary. I mean, I've always loved sports. I've always loved baseball. I think for the longest time since I can remember, it was everything to me. And I grew up in Boston, a diehard Yankees fan, which brought its own troubles with all of that
Wow,
stuff.
wow, wow.
But I always felt really connected with baseball, and I always felt like I just wanted to go bold with it, and I feel like that started that. So going into high school, I went to a private high school. I had made my public high school's team, but went to a private high school, and then got cut all 4 years for baseball. And it was probably the best baseball school in Massachusetts. And I thought, oh, this will be easy. I'll be JV my first year, varsity for the
Right,
next three, and then yeah,
right.
that didn't work out that way at all. Why I didn't transfer out of it, I'm not sure. I loved the school and I loved everything that it could offer
That's
aside from
cool.
that, but I also think there was this fire that got lit in me when I was 14, when I was told that I would make the team the first time. That was like, all right, no, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to die in the process of making it. And that is literally kind of the motto I've had throughout my life in terms of baseball. And so spent those 4 years just trying to train on my own, get better. Ended up playing college baseball for 2 years in Canada,
Mm,
which some people roast me for. Some people say it's legit, so you can be the judge of that. But I ended up getting into like the mid 80s as a lefty, trying to make myself as good as I could get. And
okay,
obviously that was kind of the end of the line there, and I knew I wasn't going to go to the next level. So went to Elon University for my last 2 years. I
okay.
graduated once I got hurt and realized that I was probably done. Um, and just fell in love with understanding maybe the business side of
Yeah,
baseball or how to break into that, because I knew I wanted to be on the sports side, but I had no idea how to get into this thing. So I just started doing as
okay.
much research as I could. Ended up getting a job in sales with the Marlins.
Wow.
Realized very quickly that the business side of it wasn't the one that I wanted to be on, and the sales side wasn't the one I wanted to be on. But it was what I thought was a foot in the door. Was there
Okay.
for 6 months, and then I realized that for me it was kind of a dead end. And if I wanted to make the switch to the other side, there was the winter meetings, and I think it was like a month at that time from the point. So I had a decision where I could either quit the Marlins and go and pursue this thing and not have a job and try to go and make it, or stay in my job. But they kind of told me like, no, you can't go for those roles. So I quit my job. I wouldn't recommend anybody doing this, but I called my mom during a lunch break and I was like, hey, they fired me, because I knew that she wouldn't be happy with me just like quitting on the spot. So she was like, what? All right, go do what you got to do. Like, this is perfect. So then I was
Right.
like, all right, I got to make this work now. Went to a public library in Miami actually every day for like a month and a half, and I was just trying to learn everything I could on like
Wow.
breaking down video, understanding the data, understanding how to be the bridge between the new school and the old school, because I just saw that that's where the game was going from a data standpoint. And
Okay.
I had friends that were still playing that started experimenting with like TrackMan and like basic numbers with
Right.
it, and they were so lost. And I would hear them talk about like, oh, my fastball is 17 vertical, 18 vertical, and they would have no idea what it means or how to use it or anything like that. And so it was like, okay, well, maybe I can just be of help and start trying to dive into information and understand what they're supposed to do. And then how can I go and communicate that with them so they don't get clouded with a bunch of numbers and like, you could be the smartest person in the world, but if you step on the mound or in the box and all you're thinking about is the numbers and the internal stuff, you're probably not going to play very well.
Yeah,
Like you got to
you're
be
right.
able to adapt it and then let it play for itself. So I just kind of fell in love with that process of it, and I felt like I got better and better at it. And it was still obviously in the grand scheme of things, it was very new with data and sports, and
Yeah.
so tried to do that as much as I could. And then I moved up a couple times from the Tigers to the Orioles as a pitching coach and development coach, and then went back to the Tigers as a pitching coach. Did that, and I loved it. Like I never meant to leave the Tigers or pro ball. Like it was awesome. We got to a point where I think the first year I didn't even have like a full business. I was just trying to help people break into jobs and understand this stuff. And we ended up
Hmm.
getting 10 out of 11 my first year. And then it expanded to like 30 something people the second year. And that's when it was like, okay, like schools are starting to recognize what we're doing and they might want some partnerships. And that requires
Hmm.
a ton of travel and loops to jump through with all the budgeting stuff. So it was in July of 24. I had to make a decision like 6 months into my 2 year deal with the Tigers if I wanted to stay and kind of fold Athlete Lab a little bit or
Hmm.
just grow Athlete Lab to where I know it could be. And it was a super tough decision, but I'm happy I did it because it allowed me
Mm.
to branch out, meet a bunch of different people, get over 100 people jobs in the last couple of years, and now like set myself up for doing the things that I want to continue to do later on. But I get to work with
Right.
big league players. I get to help a bunch of people with put them all 30 teams in the MLB and other places as well. So you just
Wow.
roll with the punches and you let everything happen the way it's going to.
I like what you said because for the people that are listening, this is episode 128. We got a very good you got the inside scoop. You're the inside scoop guy, and I like that because you said you did not make the high school team, and then you went to college, but you still had a passion for baseball. And we also know that Athlete Lab do more than baseball, but we're just talking about baseball at this present moment. You stuck with it and you learn something from all those trials and tribulations based on what you're saying. I'm
Yep.
paraphrasing. You learn so much, but you continue to have the tenacity. You know, you had an opportunity that you play. I'm sorry, you were working with the Marlins as a sales guy, got your foot in the door, and then from that point, you had a choice to make. Either get out or keep swimming, and you decided to get out, but you learned so much in that process, which leads me to that very first question. Second question, I apologize, comes from everything you've seen in pro baseball. What separates players who look D1 players and actually live like a D1 player? What do you think?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think the biggest thing that I've learned comes down to really two, well, I guess three things. There's the skill sets and the visibility standpoint. And I think that is the same no matter probably where you are in life, whether it's in baseball, playing baseball, trying to work in like anything. The skill sets of, okay, Dad, do you have the tools? Are you able to impact winning? Are you able to do all that stuff? But do people know that you're doing that as well?
Correct.
Like, are you able to
Correct.
put that out there? But
Mm-hmm.
then the big part with all of that, and I always preface everything with it, is consistency.
Mm.
Consistency to me as an athlete is huge because sometimes you pick something up right away, and there's things that you might pick up quicker than others. Like if it's changing pitch grip, trying to
Right.
make movement happen. But if it's something with your body, if it's something with velocity, if it's something where it's going to take a lot of time, if you have trouble with command,
Mm.
it's not always an overnight fix with that stuff.
Right.
And I think what separates people from D1 and from other places or from getting a job and not getting a job is can you put that work in day out? Do you have a plan? Are you going to stick to that plan and attack it and not just quit when it gets difficult for a night or a week? And that sounds probably so basic and everybody's heard it, but that is the truth. Like I as much as I didn't make the team, I did everything I could to play college. And even then, there are still other things I could have done to be way better
Right.
that I look back on now. And it's
Right.
like,
Right.
you just see it all over the place. If you just chip away day by day, and you could feel like you made no progress, but you did. If you learn something from it, you're able to take it, adapt to it, and move on. So I
Mm.
think reviewing something at the end of the night, hey, how was your day? Did it go good? Did it go bad? What was good? What was bad? But then once that's done, flush it, take the good, move on with it,
That's right.
take the lesson from the bad,
That's right.
apply it, but don't get dwell like don't start dwelling in it either. And I think when people are trying to break into college baseball and they're trying to play growing up, there's so many other things aside from just baseball that they're dealing with in life for the first time. So I think it's so easy to say and it's hard to do mentally in terms of keeping yourself in it, but that's where you need those reminders, and that's where you just need a quick maybe thought or cue for yourself of like,
Hmm.
okay, like what is the bigger picture with what I'm doing right now, and what are the controllables that I can go and attack right
That's it.
now. We
That's
can't get
good.
lost in the uncontrollables, but what are the controllables that I can chip away at, be consistent
Mm.
with?
Man, that's pretty. Man, you wrote a blueprint right there. I like that. That's
Yep.
pretty doggone good. You get right to the point. I
Yep.
like it. Colin, that's very good. I mean, with that being said, I know you have a little background as far as recruiting as well. Why are some players? Why do some players with big tools never get recruited? If we talked about this before we came on the air, and while others have less and more flash get the opportunity, why do you think that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think how you showcase yourself, and that could be both from a physical standpoint stuff as well as just communication and what your desires are and wants are, matters a ton. And I mean, at CNF, I experienced that a lot, and I think the staff was really good about trying to bring in really good people that also had those skills. Now, there are so many people, thousands and thousands and thousands of players that are trying to break in and sending emails all the time and
Right,
posting their highlight videos and all this
right.
stuff, and so people get lost in the weeds of that stuff because no school can take on everybody there. And there's plenty of people I'm sure that have hit me up that I haven't even seen that could have been great fits for what we're doing. So
Right.
before even just like a talent standpoint, a lot of it does come down to the visibility. Now, if you don't have
Hmm.
the talent, you don't have the tools, you don't have the things that they need, you can be seen it's not going to do anything. So you need both. It's not like you just need one or the other, but I do think a lot of people lack in that. And I think when it comes to visibility, a lot of people try to put out like their, which I understand, like their best self, like their best features in terms of watching their highlight reels or watching all this stuff. But I think there's a reason why people do want to see the full picture, because you could have raw power that's crazy. I've seen this in the big leagues, in the minors too, where guys have crazy power and then they hit 120 and they hit four jacks on the year, and it's like it doesn't even translate in game because all the little things now are starting to get exposed at the next level. Where maybe
Hmm.
in high school or the college you were at, you can get away with that, right? Pitching might not be as good, or hitters might not be as good, or whatever that case is. Well, now you're getting to the next level where people are starting to figure that out a little bit more. They have a
Hmm.
secondary, or they know how to land it, or they know how to read a scouting report. Now you have a little bit of data on you and they can go and attack you that way. So I think for me, going through that, it's like, one, do you have a level head? Are you able to speak really well to people, and can you adjust on the fly? Like, are you
Hmm.
able to make pitch by pitch adjustments as a pitcher, as a defender, as a hitter, whatever, versus just kind of sitting back after the season being like, okay, like, wow, I
Right.
crushed it. I hit 480 in high school. It's like, cool,
Right.
but let's look at your swing. Let's look at the velo you faced. Maybe you didn't face guys throwing 92 up in the zone. If that happens with the way your swing path is, you're going to get exposed up there. So how is that something that we can adjust
Hmm.
to? Because at our division, at our conference, and our level, we have guys that do that. So can we see
Hmm.
that?
I
I
like
do
that.
think if teams are interested, then that's where maybe you start having those conversations with them as well, which I don't think a lot of athletes do. Is everybody likes to hide their weakness, or just hide their weakness to the point where you don't even know what your weakness is because you haven't faced that part of it. And so I think it's always trying to challenge yourself, keep in contact with those coaches that you're going for, and then asking them too, like, hey, what do you think are things that I can improve on? Or I have all this stuff. What is something else that you can see
Right.
that I should be doing? And I think that might be really cliche as well, but I don't really get asked that at all as a coach. I think people talk about it a lot, and then people don't do it. And it's
Right.
like, oh, well, it's easier just to send out my PBR showcase page and do all that stuff,
Right.
which is good, but you need all of that stuff because as much as I'm a numbers guy, numbers can lie if you're looking at it within a different context and stuff. So I just think
Right.
giving people the full context helps a lot.
I like that what you said. The full context. We need to see the whole story
Yeah.
because that tells you who you really are. Who are you when the lights are off?
Yep.
Who are you when you're not at the field? Who really are you? Because that's tell you who you really are. Which brings me to this next question. We'll talk about development. What is the biggest development mistake that you believe from your experience and what you've seen, and also from your experience in high school versus pro ball coaching? What's the biggest mistake high school and JUCO players make that keep them in a stuck position, you think?
The biggest physical one's probably trying to copy or emulate other people
Ooh,
around me instead of doing it my way.
I
Now, like
got
I
you.
think there's pieces that you can pick up from a lot of people. So I'm not saying like don't look at them or disregard them, but you are you. You're not them. Your body works a little bit differently.
Different.
You have different we can't like there's just all these different things that go into it. And the older I've gotten, even just in life in general, like I take so many different things from different people.
Correct.
But if I ever just copied one person completely, I wouldn't be able to do, I think, what I do because I
Right.
wouldn't have any of my own conscious thoughts of it, be able to work it within myself, be able to fit it to my identity. And that is a real thing. And the more you grow, it's like, oh, I'm similar to these people, but I'm also very different in a lot of ways. And so it's like, I can't just go and take their stuff. Um, and I see a lot of people do that, and I think there's good things to do. Like people emulate like swings when they're younger, and I
Right.
think that's an awesome thing, or pitches. But you got to realize too that real versus feel is a real thing, and just
Mm.
because you think you're going to do it like them doesn't mean you are. So we got to take that and adapt.
Mm.
But then on the mental side of it, I would say it's trying to get everywhere at once, like trying to get 100 years down the road in one day. And that is like
I
the most
like that.
frustrating feeling in the world when you feel like you're like, well, what the heck? I didn't hit 95 today. It's like, dude, you haven't broken 82 yet. You're not going to hit 95 before you hit 83 and keep going.
Oh,
And it's I've been there a lot. And I mean, Kobe had said something along the lines one time of like, you have to be patient with, or sorry, you have to be impatient with patience without letting yourself get frustrated. Which I love that because it's like you have to push the boundaries. What can you
mhm.
do? There's people have said like, can you try to get everything done in a year in 6 months? You probably can't,
Okay.
but by going with that mindset, you'll get a lot more done than you would have if you just went at a normal pace, which is
Hmm.
great. But it's when the frustrations start to boil over is when everything shuts down and then you get nowhere. So you make more progress in the first 3 days than you would have in the week, but then you shut down for 4 days, 5 days because you're mentally just not there with
Right.
it and not feeling well. It's like you didn't actually make progress, but if anything, you were less consistent than the other people while doing the same amount of work. So you're actually probably retaining it a little bit less and not doing as good of a stuff with it, as, especially as you move up. So I think it's understanding to push the boundaries while not getting boiled over, if that makes any sense with
Hmm.
it, and then
Hmm.
just being yourself with it at the end of the day.
I like that. The bottom line is you have to know yourself. You just have to learn and you got to study yourself. What's your trigger points? How far do you think you can go? And if you can go
Yeah.
more, go more. But sometimes I believe stretching yourself is a good thing because we're all here, we need to grow. You can't be the same way you were when you were 5 years old. You're not five anymore. You're 25. And if you're
Yep.
35, you can't go back to be 15. You have to understand life is progressive. You got to continue to keep moving forward. And I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I got a sponsor. I got to throw in a sponsor. It's a sponsor is by Wow Factor Travel Baseball. If you got if I'm over here tongue tied. I can't get my words out.
I'm with you.
We've got to thank all our we have to thank our sponsors, the Wow Factor Travel Baseball. They have helped over 1,300 guys sign scholarships with D1, D2, NAIA schools, and much, much more. They also produce 10 plus MLB drafts and won 5 championships. So if you're uncommitted, a player and serious about getting real exposure and elite development, connect with me on Instagram at YouGoin'Pro Sports. Again, connect with me with Instagram at YouGoin'Pro Sports. Now, let's talk about biometrics with you. This is something that I'm not very good at, but I want to be educated. Let's talk biometrics. So, how important is the efficiency movement for players who want to stay healthy and perform at a high level with biometrics?
Yeah. Biomech is huge, and I think it's going to continue to evolve within the game, especially as it becomes more readily available to the youth, and I think, or even just amateur players itself.
Okay.
You see college labs now starting to get built at like Wake Forest and all these places, but and we have apps that do certain things. But I think with computer vision coming out, there's a lot of really, really accurate systems that will be able to tell you exactly how your body's moving, and honestly more than that too, even with the pitch stuff. But I think once again, everybody is different, and now there are a couple things that like everybody needs to hit the marks on in terms of like, let's say if we're talking for a pitcher, in terms of the timing of your delivery, in terms of the sequencing of stuff, in terms of the need to get maybe certain general ranges of
Right.
metrics. So like if you're talking hip shoulder separation for the vast majority of the population, it should be within 45 to 60 degrees of hip shoulder separation. But even within that, like everybody's different. I've seen guys that throw 100 miles an hour that are huge, like built 6'5" guys that don't need as much separation because they're just more powerful than somebody else. So I think first thing is make sure that you understand it's the same thing as anything else. You can't just copy somebody else's biomech and be like, oh, that's what I should be.
Right.
There's comps and there's people that maybe are better to look at than others, but everybody's body's different. And also, no delivery is 100% repeatable ever. Like the numbers are always going to be a little bit different just based on all the moving parts with it. So not getting caught up so much into that as much as what I like to do with guys first is like see the ranges that they have in a game versus their averages. So if I'm working with one of my big leaguer guys who ended up getting hurt last year a little bit,
Okay.
what was going on in his biomech that started to change? Like, were there any flags that I could see? Like, was his rotation getting worse? Was his stride direction or dynamics
Mm.
getting worse? Was his trunk tilt or was his stack, his center of gravity getting like all of these things I'll look at and try to. I built out a little flag system that will tell me if it's within his range or not. Green flag, he's good to go. He's within his normal stuff. Yellow flag, it's within like half a standard deviation or whatever it is that the range has to be,
Okay.
and then full standard deviation for red and like hey we might need to fix this stuff. But then there's also the aspect of, let's say you're not doing it for an injury based thing but you're trying to get better, you're trying to throw harder. Well, those might be a difference between them, and I still want to flag it to make sure like hey, are you getting into safe ranges that are good for you?
Mm-hmm.
But your biomech has to change if you're going to throw harder because we're going
Right.
to get whatever that case is that we got to fix with things. And so I think instead of looking at every little thing at once, I try to make sure that one, the athlete understands what I'm talking about. So I'm not just saying it from like the fancy biomech degrees of all this because they don't care and that doesn't do them any good. And I always tell people this, but I don't. But I could theoretically know everything there's to know about pitching and data and all this other stuff. I'm never getting on the mound. So it never matters what I know. It matters how much I can help those athletes and get through to them. And so I think
Mm.
just in general, it's like your job as somebody understanding this stuff is just to let them know where they're at with things and help them get the cues based off of that and help them build the
Mm.
drills. And so it depends. Like if it's a velocity thing, I might look at, let's say the guy has really bad hip shoulder separation and he has really bad lead leg block or extension as a result of maybe some of these things that his body's doing.
Mm.
One, what is the root of the issue versus just the different branches? Because oftentimes if you fix one of them it fixes four of them or at least
Right.
puts it in the right direction. So there's no point in fixing a branch just to have the root continue to do the same thing. But then the second thing is how can we make it simplified for them, like through drill packages then and through all this other stuff. Like if you're not a good rotator, we're going to do stuff with maybe med balls, or if you're not good at getting into the ground, what we might do med ball slams or core velo belt stuff or all these other things that are going to let them feel it. And I think everybody learns differently, but it's all about like simplifying one or two things that we're actually going to go and try and attack. Let them know that we're trying to attack that. Now I'm going to have you do this drill, or I'm going to have you watch this, or whatever their style is, or probably a combination of all of them. And now let's evaluate as we do it.
I
So
got you.
we know what the plan is, or we know what the end goal is for the plan, and we know a general roadmap. But sometimes that roadmap doesn't work. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
does, and sometimes it doesn't. And so it's okay. What do we have on deck that we can supplement instead? How often should we be doing this before we start changing that stuff? And does the end goal actually change or stay the same? And usually the
Mm.
end goal stays the same unless you're like, okay, they can't get into those ranges unless they go through a 6 month strength and conditioning program where they get physical aspirations. So I think it's really just understanding what the key points are of it,
I got you.
simplifying it, and then just acting on that.
I like that. That's good what you said. I mean, but which brings me to my next question about understanding spin. So personally, I don't understand spin, but I understand the game. And so is understanding spin, movement, and mechanics just as important as throwing hard?
Yeah, everything comes down to how the ball is entering the zone from an
Okay.
angle standpoint, both from a hitter and a pitcher, right? It's like
Okay.
mismatching bat planes and all this. And it's all the game has always been like that. It was played and thought of differently. And I
Differently.
think the
Right.
game used to be a little more east to west, and I think guys also had a little bit more room from the umpires to get east to west calls and stuff like that. But
That's right.
it was the same aspect of it. I just think with velocity, it's introduced the ability to have the more velo you have, and obviously this is not the case for everybody, but just kind of speaking plain speak, if you throw really hard
Mm-hmm.
and you have movement that doesn't negate from it staying on plane up, then throwing it up is going to play really well because you can get it flatter and flatter and flatter. And for a hitter to really square that up, they either have to flatten out their swing, which is going to take away some sort of damage or bat speed or all these other things, or they have to sell out for that completely. And they got to time it up a bit better if they're going to keep with their swing. And then it's like, okay, well, you're playing a game of extremely small odds to win, which is great as a pitcher. And I think for me, I always try to look at pitching as like four dimensional. It's
Okay.
north and south, east and west, depth, so like velocity differences, and then almost like a batter factor, like a hesitation factor, like not even fear, but hesitation. Like if you throw a fastball up and in, guys get a
Okay.
little bit jumpy. Now I might throw something else. I might throw a breaking ball that goes off of that. Then I'm just landing in the zone. So I go 0-1 fastball up and in. You get him to freeze a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go breaking ball. It might catch too much of the plate, but there's a good chance that he doesn't swing at it or that he's laid on it and he's chopping into the ground or popping it up because his timing is off now. We messed with his timing because now he's expecting something else. And I think with the data, the movement, the spin, whatever you want to call with all of that stuff, all of that plays into how that ball is going into that zone at that last second. So like if me and you we both threw 92 and had the same arm slot and same release, like all of the other metrics, but you had a fastball that had 14 vertical and I had a fastball that had 19 vertical.
Okay.
Chances are mine plays better up. That's not always the case. It depends on certain things, but I think it gives you a lot of direction to how you can use your stuff and how things pair with each other. So even if you had like a let's think. Okay, like a very high hoppy fastball. A guy with a high hoppy fastball and a big breaking curveball might have two great pitches, but they might not match because they're so different in terms of like size and movement that unless you throw the curveball perfectly off on the plane on top of the fastball just to get it to land, people are going to know it's a curveball right away. You're going to see the
Right.
difference in shape or the depth.
Right.
So that's where, based on those movements, okay, well, we might have to add something to that guy. We might, instead of just adjusting those pitches, we might have to add a little cutter, something, a gyro slider, something that's in between those two pitches, in between the same vertical, in between the same horizontal, as well as the velocity to make it stick and make them actually go and use it as a bridge pitch and get people out and get people off their tracks. So the movement matters a lot because it tells you what you can do to add to your game, how you can go and weaponize that stuff, how you can throw it against splits against lefties and righties, and then for hitters too, it's like understanding that stuff is big, but it all comes down to the angle that the ball enters the zone.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's for a lot of people just tuned in. This is Collins Murray. He's also the CEO of Athlete Lab, and this is episode 128. And we're talking about some dynamics that most players don't know. They think they know, but Collins has the secret sauce. Collins, I got a couple more questions before we close
Yep.
out. When players are facing adversity, slumps, injuries, being overlooked, what mindset keeps them from what type of mindset you think they should keep before they decide to quit or transfer? I gotta
Yeah.
throw that one in there because transfer portals like everything. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, the transfer portal is crazy right now with all that stuff, and also that just doesn't allow you to develop the way that you really want to, unless you get extremely lucky of going to the perfect situation. But how often do people go to the perfect situation to realize it's not the perfect situation, and then they are either even in a bigger hole because now you could have
That's
been
right.
developing that
That's
last year,
right.
moved up, and
That's right.
all that stuff. So, no, I think I'm hoping that dies down a little bit and people realize that, which I think through the data that we'll have over these next couple of years, you will
Yes.
see. Unfortunately, whoever's watching, you're not the one that makes that mistake, but you will see that it doesn't benefit people as much as they think it's going to benefit. Not only that, but degrees, education. There's a
Right.
lot of stuff that mess up. I think the biggest thing before you give up on yourself or you quit is giving you like a true evaluation of what you're
Mm.
doing within the controllables. And I think it goes back to that consistency aspect of it. I was so frustrated in high school and I feel like I went harder than most people. That being said, if I gave myself an honest look back, instead of just being mad that I got cut and been like, oh, I should have made it, they screwed me over, it's like, okay, well, I'm obviously not perfect. I would have been ranked right now and all these
Okay.
other things too. Like, what is it about my game that I can improve first? And I think it's really trying to take the emotions out of it first and saying, like, okay, Am I as good as I can be? Have I done all the things I can be honestly? Now, if the answer is yes to those questions and you still love it, play, have fun with it, continue to do it. You never know, right? You grow, you develop, you get better, bigger, stronger, athletic, whatever. But I say that because the answer is never actually, oh, I've done it all. Like it's not. And
That's
so
it.
continue to give yourself those chances. Like I think as simple as it is, writing down, like physically writing down a list, like what are things that I identify with that I'm really good at? Like first get that positive in your head. Like, okay, like for me, I couldn't throw very hard at that time, but I was able to throw strikes. I had a good curveball, not velocity wise, but shape wise, and like I could land it. And so in high school, even though I might not have been the best or even
Right.
very good, if I can land a breaking ball and throw it for two strikes,
That's
that's an
right.
ability that a lot of people didn't have.
That's right.
But what are things that I need to go and improve? Okay, well, I don't throw hard enough. So even if I make the team, I
That's right.
might not get many innings, or even if I get innings, how far do I want to go? Can I continue on with this? Probably not. Okay, well, what do I got to do for that? Okay, well, I'm really stiff. I don't have good flexibility. Okay, well,
That's it.
that's a big thing that can do it. Let me go into that. How can I get stronger? How can I get more mobile?
Come
Okay,
on.
now I can get into positions physically that I couldn't get into before. How do I make sure now that I'm adapting to
Mm.
that and recovering with that and injury stuff? Like, you could go down the list and then you'd be like, I need two notebooks full worth of stuff because I can continue to improve. And then that can get overwhelming too. So then it's like boil it all down to like, hey, what's the number one thing that I could do right now? What could I
Right.
do today, tomorrow, the next day? I can make a 2 month plan on, and I
That's
can
right.
attack it, attack it, attack it, and just start stacking those days, start stacking those wins, and being consistent with it. And then you're going to start to slowly move those things from one side of the list to the other side of
That's
the
it.
list, and before you know it, now you see momentum. Now you see progress. Now it's like, okay, cool. Like my goal isn't to go throw 95. My goal is to get better today than I did yesterday on this
That's right.
thing. And we
That's right.
keep doing that, you will see the
See.
results. And then you hear somebody be like, wow, dude, that sounded like it popped in the mitt. And then it's the best feeling in the world. It's like,
Right.
cool, I'm on it. I'm on it. And that
Right.
gives you all the little motivation you need to just keep going.
Man, this is good, man. I wish we had more time. This is
That was
really
awesome.
good.
That was fun.
That's like this is meat. You give us some meat. You know how back in the day this is where's the beef? This is the meat. This is
Yep.
this is the meat right here. Unfortunately, guys, we have only a few minutes left, but this is really good because you're saying some stuff that players need to hear. Because you said basically, I'm going to demonstrate. Get a sheet of paper and write it down. You
Yep.
said write it down. Now, I just had a podcast a couple of days ago. I talked about that as well about the importance of writing things down because what you write down, you don't forget. But if you use your
Absolutely.
phone, you use this little thing here, you're gonna forget because there's so many other distractions on the phone. But once you write it down, something about the mind connects with the hand, and
Yeah.
and just like you said before, take you may have several things that you need to work on, but let's just take one and let's master that one thing. And then after you master it, then go to the next one. Then go to the next one. And you've done very great. I got one last question before we close
Yep.
out. And my last question is one of my favorite questions. When the game gets hard, how important is faith, life, and purpose? Because your identity is truly outside the game. So how important is it that would you say,
Yeah.
Colin?
Faith, life, purpose. It's everything. It's everything at the end of the day. I mean, I love baseball. I do it for a living. I've been in major league organizations. I fought for it when I couldn't get it. Like literally every step of the way, it's always been with me. The times that I feel like I'm better in my personal life and my faith, that I'm more just grounded with what I'm doing, is
Mm-hmm.
like cheesy as that might sound, is the times where I enjoy it way more. And like I think at the end of the day too, my favorite times in baseball has been around the people, has been in the dugouts doing the stupid stuff, like just enjoying the time, the camaraderie with all of the people around you, and like building, building, building. And
Right.
it's a lot of work and it's hard work, but when you have hard work with a good group of people that you like, I think that is the best stuff. And it's once again cheesy, but you can't take anything with you to the next place,
That's
right?
right.
Once you're
That's right.
gone, and it's like
It's gone.
you have to be able to be where your feet are. And I think I used to be pretty bad at that. I think like probably most athletes or a lot of athletes at first, especially you're growing up, you're so results based and you're so like
Mm-hmm.
living in did I get this or did I not get this? When in reality it shouldn't be that. It should be process based, not results based.
Mm.
That is super easy to say, hard to do. The first time you go and do it, you're gonna get frustrated at something. You're like, F this, I can't do this. But it's
Mm,
like that's not what it's about. It's about chipping away, growing as a person, growing as an individual, and allowing that stuff to seep in through the game. And so I just think when you do that and you're grounded and you have faith, you understand like things are happening for a reason. You just got to roll with those punches. But what can I do to take away from it?
hmm
To what we just said on that last question, I think it helps you to unlock that mentality a little bit of like, all right, cool, deep breath. Yeah, it didn't go the way I wanted to. I might still be feeling bad about it, and that's okay. I
hmm
don't have to like brush that under the rug either, but it's bigger than this. And what can I do going forward? Like, how can I use that as a platform? Like, me personally, if I made the high school team, as crazy as it sounds, I guarantee you I wouldn't be in baseball today. I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be working a normal 9 to 5 job. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But
Right.
that was never going to be my life. And it all happened because of something that could have been perceived as extremely negative.
hmm
And sure, it was perceived as negative for a long time for me. But like, I knew that I just had to keep going with it, and I had faith in this journey, and I still do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left pro ball to do athlete
Right.
lab and all that stuff, which was a scary journey of itself. So, no, you gotta have faith, and you just gotta keep rolling with it and just getting better day by day.
I like that. This is Colin Murray. He's the CEO of Athlete Lab. I want to say thank you for coming on. But you just said something. I'm going to read something that it says in Romans 12:1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable, reasonable service of God. And it says, do not be transformed to this world, but ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Basically, every day, you got to come with a different mindset, better than you did yesterday, because if you don't, you're gonna go into a rat race. It's just like a cycle. And
Yep.
with everything that Colin said today was very powerful, very on point. Colin, I want to say thank you for coming on. It was great, man. I enjoyed it. If you want to give a quick closing word for the audience and how they can contact you, how they can
Yeah.
contact and get your services before we
Well,
end.
first off, I really appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. I love doing this with good people that are in the industry like you. So, no,
Thank
this is
you.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, go to athletelab.io, check out all the stuff. Like, message me, let me know what you need. We help people get jobs in pro ball. I train big league players, other people in other sports as well. So, it's cool. This is just a platform where we finally get people that might not have had the most traditional backgrounds or journeys, and you
Right.
can make all of this stuff happen. You just need the right resources, the right guidance, and the right way to do it. So, if it's an interest, check out athletelab.io. But no, Coach Lowry, I really do appreciate all
Hey,
of this.
man,
This has been awesome.
this is good, man. We're gonna have to get you back on again and do
Yeah.
another segment because this is pretty great. I mean, you gave some very good, powerful information for all the listeners that are coming on. They're probably gonna reach out to you. But now that you've heard me, you've heard him, my question is, as I always ask, where are you being led? LED. That's what I'm asking Colin. I'm asking everybody, where are you being led? The L stands for listen, listen to the truth. E stands for execute what you've learned. D stands for dominate the calling because faith comes by hearing, greatness comes by obedience, and champions are built on purpose. So this is You
Yep.
Going Pro, where we develop pros on and off the field. So go dominate like champions. This is Coach Laurie and very own episode 128 of Colin Murray Athlete Lab. Go to his website, get all the information. I'm signing out. Have a great